For so many of us, India begins and ends in Bangalore, maybe Mumbai, maybe Delhi. But India is much, much bigger than that. And I think most of us don't understand how big this country really is. 3.25 million square kilometers, 1.27 billion people, 29 states, each one of them probably bigger than countries in Europe, and a huge ecosystem, great diversity, with not much in common, except we all call ourselves Indians. And in this, based upon local needs and local circumstances, innovators come up. What we need and what Sharad has done, iSpirit has done, and Pratibha has been doing through the road shows is to identify these innovators all over, get them together on a common platform so that we could showcase them, expose them to buyers, expose them to the market, and try to connect so that they could scale up, they could get the funding, and they could ultimately come out with products which are useful to everybody else. Sharad and I were discussing just now, and Sharad made a very, very interesting point. In India, there is a 300 million middle class whose income is about $4,000 a year. $4,000 a year is not something to be sneered at. If you apply the PPP multiple of 3, is about $12,000. And after that, there is a 900 million people whose per capita income is about $1,000. And $1,000 into 5 for a family is $5,000. And $5,000 into 70 rupees is about 3,50,000 rupees for a family. And that is a very, very big market. But that market cannot be attended to by a Western model, which is based upon marketing, advertising, etc., and higher prices. Because in this market, a 900 million people market, they require smaller sachets or possibly smaller buying units rather than a bigger buying unit. Now, at the 300 million market, you could have bigger buying units because people will want to buy for a week or buy for a month or whatever. But for this market, you may require smaller dollops of goods and services, and this could be done by local innovators to address this kind of a market. Right now, on a GDP of $2.25 trillion, it could seem that there's just about $1 trillion. And tomorrow, as we grow by 2030, we hope to be $10 trillion. This could grow to say let's say $3,000 per capita, and the market could grow up threefold or fourfold. So there's a huge market waiting to happen. And for that, we need many, many more innovators to come forth at the grassroots, but they have to be identified. We have to create a structure. We have to encourage them, because being an innovator, an inventor is not easy. It's very frustrating, it's very difficult, and it kills you because you have to market, you have to reach people, people are very skeptical, etc. One of the big things that we need to do to get these grassroots innovators to market is to make sure that we improve design. Ultimately, for a consumer product, design is important. And the design sense has to be brought into India amongst all of us, including these grassroots innovators. And that's why we need to marry design to invention, design to innovation. And when innovation marries design, then you can see that products could sell for themselves. And there's no better example than the iPhone. We all know the story about how the iPhone is designed and how it is so intuitive to use that everybody wants to have an iPhone or an iPad. And therefore, the design element has to be brought in. Another element which needs to be done is to make sure that we create a grant mechanism for all these grassroots innovators, so that we should work with government or philanthropists to create a grant pool whereby all these people can get grants to design the product, to try out the product, to scale it up and come to a certain level, so that then they can decide what they want to do. And after the grant level, maybe another layer of seed capital to be given from government funds. Government and public funds are essential for this, because that is what has got to foster as part of the public service that institutions do, so that they could get a little bit of grants, and these grants can be used by them to go to the next stage, and maybe they'll do well, maybe they'll not do well, but what we'll have in essence is a huge quantum of grassroots innovation. And we will have thousands of problem solvers. What India needs is thousands of problem solvers. Our problems, we've got millions of problems across the country, but we need thousands and thousands of problem solvers. And it's only when these problem solvers come together and they're encouraged and they solve local problems that will work. We've seen over the last 60, 70 years that our problems don't go away because it's such a huge country, and the problems cannot be solved by few people at the top. It has to be solved by people who are innovators at the grassroots, who understand local issues, understand local needs, and come out with products which meet the needs of people. And for that, the gap is right now the connectivity gap, the gap is the funding gap, the gap is the design gap. And I think if we're able to keep this movement all over, I think it'll do wonderfully well.